morning, everyone. It's Monday, March 2nd. There is a lot to show you on the models today, and I'll get to that in just a second. Kind of to recap what I talked about yesterday in my wet sand report, we do have some swell heading down the coast. Storm system sitting off the coast. That's going to be affecting more of the northern areas, more or less from LA northward. Not so much for Orange County, San Diego. It will be increasing the surf, though, over the next couple days, increasing on Tuesday and peaking on Wednesday. We are then looking at swell diminishing throughout the rest of the week, and not a whole lot's on tap. That system mentioned in yesterday's wet sand report coming off the Aleutians, that's not holding together on the models this morning. Southern Hemisphere system for the 11th, that's not looking very promising either. I'll show you that. But along with that, also wanted to show you also something that is happening in the Southern Hemisphere on the models this morning. So this is everything that's going on right now. So taking an early morning picture of the Pacific, this is the satellite view showing that trough digging very far to the south. Precipitable water in bands of blue, one just sitting right above Southern California. It's not really going to progress that far to the south, and here's why. If we take a look at the weather models this morning, we can see that there's high pressure still pushing up from the south, right around Southern California, that low sitting offshore. That high pressure will, though, be breaking down over the next 24 hours, as we can see here in the next weather model. The low pressure system, though, would be staying far to the north, not really digging down into Southern California, increasing the onshore effect, but not really bringing us anything until Saturday. This is Saturday's weather model. We can see that low pressure system would be right over top of Southern California. That could then bring rain to most all regions then, but this is a long-range model, a little early to call what's going to happen for the weekend weather. Taking a look at the WAMs this morning, we can see that fetch forming still up in the Gulf of Alaska, about 1,100 nautical miles away from us or so. And that should be bringing an increase in swell then on Tuesday. Here we go 24 hours out, and that fetch has a 36-foot bunch of seas in it. That's a lot of energy, but moving in a direction of about 300 and 310 degrees, throwing a lot of energy south, but not a lot of that's going to make it into Southern California. Still, that should be increasing surf quite a bit then on Wednesday. As we look a little farther out and that system start to dissipate, we notice that Aleutian chain system that I mentioned in yesterday's Wet Sand SoCal report, not really holding a lot of steam on today's models. In fact, 96-hour models show that system just breaking apart. There's high pressure blocking over in the Western Pacific, forcing it up to the north, and just not a whole lot to be coming out of that. Southern Hemisphere model showing that small little fetch down there below French Polynesia, moving toward Easter Island, but not on a very favorable trajectory. So we can see here, this guy would just be moving completely to the east, hardly throwing any energy up towards Southern California. 72-hour models, though, show something interesting, forming down here in the Southern Ocean. If we can believe this, the 96-hour models, that's a big fetch. 120-hour models, even bigger with 36 to 40-foot seas. But 120-hour model is just not one to be trusted. It's a little dubious at this point, just a little too far out to make the call, but something to watch and keep an eye on over the next few days, see how this thing actually develops. So the long range is quite dubious. What we do know is only what's happening on the short term right now, and that's what's coming down from the Gulf of Alaska. Everything else is just not working out in our favor for the long range. Nothing really coming out of the Western Pacific. The Aleutian system's really looking to die out. System in the Southern Hemisphere kind of petering out too. That would bring us something around the 11th, but I wouldn't hold any hope for that at all. So right now, all eyes are on that Gulf system, and unfortunately, just being a few hundred miles off our coast when it peaks and moves down our way, that's still 24 hours out. So there's still nothing completely definite today, although that's still a short-range model and projection, so we're still looking at some hope out of that. It does look like that's going to be increasing surf then in Southern California on Tuesday, increasing more than on Wednesday. If models have it right today, then we're looking at surf increasing toward the head-high zone at most west-facing breaks, and possibly 2 to 3 feet overhead or even larger at some of the standout breaks. But once again, this is still dubious. It's still on the long-range models. Have to keep an eye on it and see what happens. I'll be having an update in my Southern California surf report on Tuesday morning at wetsand.com, and for the ETAs, wind, weather, tide, and more, you can always check out my SoCal Surf Report at wetsand.com.